She Says So, brought to you by S&S Passage Supermarket and thebesttoys.com.
She's unstoppable. She's got the power to break the chains and make it louder. She says so.
Welcome to another episode of She Says So, where we continue our conversations with women who are using their personal story, their story of struggle or triumph, their story of victory over adversity, to not only change the path of their lives, but also open the door for others. And Kalisha Mills is no exception to the rule. There's an article that was, published now 2 years ago, where she spoke about personal tragedy. She spoke about financial hardships. Today, she hosts a brunch. She invites women. She has a kingdom of women behind her. And she's using her platform to not just use it to share stories, but to network, to build meaningful connections. You know, when we talk about the boys club, well, she's definitely using her platform and her story to create a girls club, a club for women, to help, empower, inspire, and bring more women on. And this introduction does absolutely little justice to all the work that she's been doing. Kalisha, how are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
I also want to say she jumped on a flight to Tobago just to make the shooting time for this. So she is very committed to using her platform and using any opportunity to spread the joy.
Yes, definitely.
Now, you know, I want to start with that first pivotal moment because the article that was attached to the brief was one that started about hardship and what you described as an all-time low. Tell me about that time in your life.
All right. Well, you know, we don't always start at that hard time. Sometimes we start at one place, we go up. And, you know, sometimes they say, you know, when you go up, there's a time that you go down. And also when you go down, there's a time like there is no other way, no further down that you could go, that the only place you could go is up. That was my kind of, you know, roller coaster. You know, I moved to Tobago in 2007. That year, my mom had passed away. She died from kidney failure. She had diabetes. And, you know, that year I moved. We, you know, really struggled with her. And it was a difficult time. And so I knew that I needed to have a fresh start. I moved to Tobago that year. And that very year I started a business with my now husband, and business started off great. You know, it was like immediate success. You know, we found that unique area, that niche in selling office furniture and unique stationery. Lovely for Tobago, there was nothing like it at that time. And, you know, everything started off well, immediate success. But if you look at the timing, that was 2007. By 2009, that was when we had a so-called recession.
Yeah, the world economic recession.
Right. And we got caught up in that because our main clients were the government, right? And so you know how dealing with the government is, you have to wait. It kind of messes up your cash flow. And with this recession, they also decreased their spending significantly. And so it left us in a real bind. And so we had to start making moves. Our business was in a mall setting. We had to move from the mall setting. We moved it downstairs to where we were living at the time. By that time, I had 2 kids. And within the next year, I had another child. So this is now 3 kids. And things were not improving, right? So we had to move from where we were living now and to make the very tough decision to move back in with in-laws because, you know, the finances was not coming in at the time. And it took probably about 3 years of, you know, just being in a state of wallowing, being in a state of, for me, depression, because by that time I had another child. So now it's 4 children with in-laws, you know, and basically the in-laws supporting you. And you could imagine, you know, being a mom, you know, being the one that brought them here partly and not being able to provide for them, you know, depending on other people, you know,
Was there any form of income coming into your
there
home at
was
that
no
time?
form of income at that time. I don't even know how or why. Because I think mostly we were still trying to come to terms with the shift in the life, you know. And it was one day, which was about my 35th birthday. You know, my kids, there's this ice cream truck that comes into the street ever so often, and it chose to come on my birthday, and I'm hearing this ice cream truck coming, you know that song Pop Goes the Weasel.
Right,
And
yes.
it's playing, coming, and it's like, oh my god, these kids are gonna come and they're gonna ask me for ice cream. I just know it. And sure enough, they came, and I could not even buy that ice cream for myself. And I was like, Kalisha, like, how did you get here? How could you have, let this go on for so long? And from that day, that was the very day that I decided, like, I remembered who I was. I remembered, like, the business that I would have started, the immediate success, the schooling, the life trajectory that brought me to where I was. And I was like, I can do this. I need to sit down and plan and think. And that was the first day that a real relief came to my mind that I am going to get myself out of this situation.
Kalisha, you talk about the day the ice cream truck came. You could not afford to even give your 4 children a basic ice cream cone.
Yeah.
And that was the moment you said, I remembered who I was.
Mm-hmm.
Who were you at the time before? And then who did you remember that you were?
So I remembered that I was smart, that I am intelligent, that I am a problem solver, that I can think, that I am not alone. And during that time, I reclused myself. I was not speaking to family, friends. No one really knew what was happening. And so that is what caused, I think, that deep, deep depression. And when I started to, kind of get back to myself, I think I'm funny, I think I can relate to people. And I used all of those things to, write who I was and who I was going to get back to. Where I was, it was no place to be at that point in my life. And I used my past to really propel me further forward.
You talk about having 4 children at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone understand what was going on? Did they know that at this time, mommy and daddy are dependent on grandma and grandpa, that there's no money?
No, they are children. They are not really trained to go into all of those deep thinking. But I knew that they knew that my mom, the way she is now, it's not like how she is normally. They would come to me with certain things. I would not have the mental capacity to deal with them. My son was in writing the SAA at that time as well. So all of that was a real struggle to get through it. Kids being so small, they need you. They need to see you happy. They need to see you in a certain way that encourages them as well. And so I knew that I needed to change that immediately.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about this change and how this change propelled her to use her platform to create a kingdom.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, and bathtubs. Visit us in store at first floor Movingtown Port of Spain, Forces flagship MacBean, Eastgate Mall Trinity, or shop online now. And remember, we have the best for your baby at the best prices.
SNS Passage Supermarket comes to St. Mary's Freeport. With the wide aisles of variety, quality you can trust, a community hub, and loyalty rewards. When I say they have everything, they have everything from your fresh produce, your wines and spirits, your butcher meat, seafood, bakery, you name it, they have it. And with these prices, trust me, you're guaranteed to save some money in your pocket. So come on down and shop today at the brand new SNS Passage Supermarket, St. Mary's Freeport.
She's unstoppable. She's got the power.
Felicia, we talk about the fact that you remembered who you were. Your son was writing essay. You wrote a list of what you wanted to become again. What was the first tangible step that you made in creating the woman we see today?
Well, my first step was taking out a notebook and writing my vision, writing my goals, writing where I wanted to be, and also looking back at my core values, because I think, with the stress of everything that was happening, I also forgot, what my values were. And so I was basically settling for anything, right? And that is not where any person should be. You should never settle for what is handed to you, especially women and especially moms. You have to make things happen. And so I knew that I was going to make some things happen. The imagination is a hell of a thing, and your brain and the very act of writing your goals down, the very act of writing your vision down, the very act of thinking and seeing where you want yourself to be, it is such a powerful thing to do. It's something that I do to today, and it has never led me the wrong way.
What did you write on this vision? What did you put on this vision board or this mission board?
Well, I knew that I wanted to create a community. I knew that I needed to name that community something. At the point in time, the name that immediately came to me was Kingdom Women International, because I didn't want to, leave this as something local. I know that every mom all around the world, we go through basically the same things. We have an unspoken connection and language, yeah? And I knew that I wanted this to be global one day. I wrote down how I was going to do this. At the point in time, we had a thrust in online communication, so I started online. And then I knew that I wanted to move to in-person events and workshops and stuff like that. So that's how that started.
You write this vision, you write this mission, you know what you wanted to do. Tell me about the first leap of faith that you took, because I can write it. I have a lot of dreams. And you're right, being a mother, everyone has, we joked about the makeup room where I feel like constantly on the, oh my God, I'm going to get it right one day.
Yeah.
But what was the first step that you took and you said, I am going to take this, whether I have $1 in the bank account or not?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I created a Facebook page, and I started putting content out there. I'm not really knowing what I was doing, but I knew that I had to start putting my voice out there. The hardest thing was to let people know what was going on. And I started sharing little tips about, okay, this is where I am at, and this is where, I'm going. These are the situations that had occurred, and the steps that I'm taking to move forward. So anybody that knew me at that time, they saw me move from where I was to where we are today. And it's all through me sharing, okay, this is what I'm going through. Because I think when we keep a lot of things inside, there's no one that would say, okay, well, this is how I can support you. So putting it out there was the first major step.
Now, when you talk about putting things out there, being vulnerable, but also being vulnerable to say, I need help. I am not where I'm supposed to be. Did you feel a sense of shame?
Most definitely, but I think that is where vulnerability comes in. Shame comes with it, but you have to be able to move past that shame, because that when you move past that, that is when you are saying, okay, I am here, and this is where the assistance comes in. This is where people know, okay, well, I can help, I can do this, I can support you, and that's part of, being, not saying what is happening. No one would know what you want. It's just like the kids, or your family or your spouse. If you don't say, okay, I am overwhelmed, I need help with the dishes, I need help with this, no one will know. And we turn into Superwoman immediately and we do everything ourselves. But vulnerability.
Now, you started building the community by sharing your stories, right? With all the good and the praise, when you put yourself out there, you also get a lot of criticism. Did you get people saying, oh, you're looking for attention, you're looking for a handout, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I did not get much of that. Most people were very supportive. If there were persons like that, they did not or come and say to me or put it on my page. But that is how I feel sometimes on the inside. You know, when you look to certain persons for validation, or you know when people are just, they're not saying exactly what they really feel. I got that at times, but it's not going to stop me. It never stopped me from moving forward, because I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in the help that I am giving to other moms, and I will just continue with that.
Mom of four, you've started sharing your stories. When did it start becoming a community?
Yeah, so when I decided to host my first physical event, right, I saw that the women came. It was quite shocking to me. It was very small, my first try at it, and I did it, and I was like, okay, well, this is something that can grow. The real test was, when I decided to take it to the next level, right? Throughout my journey, I have realized that, I have big goals, I have big dreams, and the only way that I can really make a mark and to really solidify who I am and what I'm doing is to make ridiculous steps and ridiculous decisions. And so I decided to host it at the Bricks, which was 2 years ago. Way out of my comfort zone, nothing that I've ever done before, but the event came off so beautifully. Everything that I needed was provided. Sponsors came out. People really took hold of that vision. And so this is something that I also share with others, that like, your dreams need to scare you, your goals need to scare you. If it doesn't, then you need to dream bigger.
Do your goals and dreams still scare you?
Very much so. Even being here today, and sharing, and just, spreading the message and the word of, knowing who you are and going after what you want and not settling. It is a constant, you have to reassure yourself a lot. You have to affirm yourself a lot, because not always people will affirm. You have to do it for yourself as well.
We take a short break. When we come back, we're going to find out about what are some of the common challenges that women face. And also, maybe we'll find out from Kalisha some of the challenges that she's faced and how she overcame them. She talks about positive self-image and kind of sticking to your goals, writing it down all the time, getting a clear idea as to where you want to be. Stay with us.
Are you looking for a customizable studio space with green and white screen cyclorama and professional production equipment to carry out your next big project? SGP Studios is the perfect fit for you. TNT's largest studio space with an overhead lighting grid and sound treated, perfect for television commercials, music videos, television programs, social media content, and film productions. We also have a wide range of production equipment available for rental. You can choose from a selection of Netflix approved cameras, modern lighting equipment, professional audio gear, 40-foot and 20-foot cranes, gimbals, drones, lenses, action cameras, and more, all at competitive prices. Whether you need a high-end cinema camera for feature film shoot, specialized lighting equipment for music video, or audio gear for a podcast, we've got you covered. And with our easy online booking system, you can reserve the gear you need in just a few clicks. Check us out online at sgpstudios.com.
SNS Passage Supermarket comes to St. Mary's Freeport. With the wide aisles of variety, quality you can trust, a community hub, and loyalty rewards. When I say they have everything from your fresh produce, your wines and spirits, your butcher meat, seafood, bakery, you name it, they have it. And with these prices, trust me, you're guaranteed to save some money in your pocket. So come on down and shop today at the brand new SNS Passage supermarket. St. Mary's Freeport.
She's unstoppable. She's got the power.
Welcome back. We are continuing a conversation with Cleisha Mills, and we're talking She Says So. And she's been saying quite a lot about how she left, what do you say, as J.K. Rowling once said, rock bottom is not a bad place to be because you can only go up from there. And after 4 years of what she considers to be the most testing time in her life, she then bounced back and is here to use her story to inspire others. Now, Cleisha, you talk about the first event that you had. You said, I did it big. I went to the fanciest of fancies at that time. What are some of the common challenges that all women face?
Overwhelm, lack of boundaries, lack of support, and also not sharing their internal struggles. All right, we all want to do it all. We all want to, be that, as you said earlier, that trophy wife. We just want to be the best for our kids, for our moms, but we also forget that we are one person. And we are also living life for the first time. We have not experienced these things before, so we are all learning as we are going along as well. And so I think when we, try to do too much, when we try to do it all without support, I think that is a real challenge for a lot of moms.
Is there a story that, was shared in creating your kingdom where you felt, this is why I do what I do?
Yes, of course. I look at, and if you look at my page with the testimonies of some of the moms that come to the event, the conversations that we have there, we sometimes could class and categorize persons, but when we hear from some of the persons who are panelists, when we hear from some of the persons who are attendees at the event, we all share a similar story. And even by me sharing my story at the event, it was something that one person was going through, and they literally broke down in tears because they were like, okay, I can do this. When I listen to your testimony, as they say, you have been through it. And that gives me the encouragement, that gives me to know for a fact that I can do this as well.
Now, you talk about we all face the same challenges. Mm-hmm. Work-life balance, career advancement, personal development, traditional rules, expectations.
Yes.
Where do you find the success?
Yeah. For me, I think a lot of alone time is necessary because with all of the noise, with all of these roles, with all of these different categories of our lives as women, I find that when I have alone time, when I can detox my brain, when I can think, okay, this is where I need support, when I think about, okay, this is where I want to go, alone time can, you can read a book, you can learn something new, you can take a moment to go to the beach, you can take a walk, go to the gym. I have what I call non-negotiables for me. And for this time in my life, that is going to the gym and periodically alone time because it is so necessary for us.
I have to ask a little bit about that.
Sure.
Because I battle with that as well. Because,
Yeah.
you know the importance. I think now statistics has shown, the importance of your health and what killing yourself for a job. But I taking beyond that, the lifestyles that we live, the food that we're ingesting, you just need. But a lot of times women would think I'm being selfish. I am at a space now where I'm like, how do I find the time to do this? I'm giving up time with my child. I am neglecting my child. How do you deal with that guilt that constantly, because in your mind, you know that if I'm healthy and if I'm whole, I am better for every other rule that I have. But the easiest thing that we give up is our health.
Yeah, it's the number one thing. And, I remember last year, November, I said, okay, I would take a pause from the gym. I've been in the gym for, the entire year, and I took a pause, and that turned into 6 months, because it is so easy for life to get back overwhelming, for you to put yourself last. But just as you said, if you don't put yourself first, then there would be no you, and that's why I call it non-negotiables. You have to take care of your mental health, you have to take care of your physical health, because that's the only way you can be that happy, thriving mom for your family, for your kids.
What is the most rewarding part of your entire story so far?
The most rewarding part for me is to be an entrepreneur, to have my own income, to set my own times and my own goals, to not, have to depend on others as we would have done before, and to really see my kids thriving and being there for them when they need me, and to be able to do what I want when I want. For now, yes, I think that is the best part for me.
You talk a lot about your husband and your kids during this interview, and sometimes a lot of women who succeed in business and who succeed in corporate, their marriage fails.
Yeah.
It's just an inevitable consequence. I think it's just that battle with societal expectations, traditional rules, and adapting to a new life. What is the secret to your success?
Well, I mean, secrets, I would say that my husband might, say otherwise, but communication, it is something that I know that I have to do better at. I internalize a lot of things. And so, being able to share, your feelings and your thoughts, it is critical, especially in business, especially in marriage and family, and having integrity. I think when you focus on those things and, having boundaries is also very important, knowing when to stop working, because as moms and as women, we can work like non-stop, but knowing when our family needs us, when it's time to take a break, those are the things that really makes the difference.
What advice do you have? You talk about knowing when to take a break. If you had to give one piece of advice, and I know you're preparing for the next installment of your brunch, so we want to encourage you to follow and to find out more about it. But what is that one piece of advice you have for women out there?
I would say to never stop planning, never stop believing in yourself and reviewing your goals, and also to make sure that you have that moment to yourself to think about where you are and what is your next step. Don't dwell on the past too much, that has already gone, but your present and your future, it is something that you can make changes like now, today.
Kalisha, women also carry a lot of badges that we hold, and maybe we are our biggest critic. You always talk about making time for yourself. You talk about having your goals. Have you ever been accused of being selfish? And to all the women who have that fear out there.
Yeah, I think every time we make one of those steps, we are accused of being selfish, because you are thinking about you. You're not thinking about anyone else. And so it will always be that label, right? I think maybe one of the badges should be selfish because, that is the only time where you would really have that time for yourself. Every other times people would just bombard you with, what they want you to solve. But there are times to be selfish.
Well, thank you for sharing your story, and we wish you all the best. We want to encourage you to follow Kalisha Mills. Go on your Facebook, understand. And to all the women out there, I want to encourage you to find out about this network of women. We are using this show, She Says So, to create a platform for women to share their stories, but also to inspire change. It's all about us making a better space for each other. And if you are an experienced mom or a new mom like me, it is a truly jungle out there. So sometimes you need some help, you need to learn from others. So I want to encourage you to reach out to others, because it is truly an overwhelming path that we are all walking. And there are more commonalities amongst us than you would imagine. Also, check us out on social media. I want to encourage you to continue sharing the clips. Give us your thoughts, your insights. If you would like to be part of the show, we encourage you to send a quick email. I'm Hema Ramkisoon, and this is another episode of She Says So. We want to encourage you to stay tuned to CNC3.
She's taking control. She's gonna rise up. She's gonna make.
She Says So was brought to you by SNS Passad Supermarket and thebesttoys.com.